This is a live video, so I am here to answer your questions and give you a review of this machine that a lot of people have been asking about. So I figured I would just do this video, but I'm also going to be, I'm also going to be here live to answer a lot of your questions. So a lot of people have been asking about this machine. The HLTH, is it any good? In my personal opinion, if you just want the simple answer, yeah, then my simple answer is no, not really that good. Because this is just a Chinese machine. I don't like closed box systems. I don't like sealed systems. Why? Because long-term research in Japan showed, remember, I studied hydrogen production on how to make a good hydrogen machine. And when they're sealed, they find a lot of issues. One, you can start growing mold in them, which a lot of people don't realize. And also, if you ever have the membrane or damage to the metal or something, you don't see it. And you don't even know if your machine is really actually making the proper amounts of hydrogen or not. And I would not worry about the oxygen, by the way. Everybody's always so worried about getting the oxygen. You're already breathing in 20 to 21% oxygen. You do not want to, yeah, Trey, if you want to ask any questions, this is the time. And, let me know. Now, if you really want to see this, now they want $7,000 for this machine. Now, this is something that's happening in the whole hydrogen industry. And remember, I don't give any medical advice. I don't make any medical claims. And I don't make any claims for or against any product or products. Everything today is my opinion. But these machines, you can get them super cheap if you really want. You just go to Alibaba. See this machine right here? Don't you realize it is the same one? Look at the picture, actually. See? Same exact machine, except here it's $700. Here it's $7,000. And let me tell you, there's a lot of things about this machine that I just don't like. If it was the best machine in the world, I would gladly tell you that it's the best machine, guys. I can suggest anything I want, and I only suggest the stuff that's the best with my extensive research. First thing I didn't like about this, I noticed that they literally try to hide what metal they're using. They literally do not want to tell you what kind of metal they're using. If you can find it, which is going to be, pretty tricky, I looked, and they don't want to show you. And in my opinion, same thing with the membrane. And I know what these companies tend to use. They tend to use DuPont membranes. They use plated, coated, cheap metals from China. And I could even show you, like, it took me a while, but I found some of it here, right here. See the membranes right here? And what does it say? DuPont membrane. I do not like DuPont membranes. They are made by a chemical company called DuPont. I'm not a huge fan, obviously, of these type of membranes. The Japanese had to create their own because guess what? Almost everybody is using DuPont membranes. This is something that everybody's pretty much using because it's a technology that really hasn't been created very much. And that's why they just use these because they don't have any other choice. And then, of course, the cheap plated metals. Now, here's another huge issue. And this is a really good time for you guys to ask questions about this machine. This is why I'm doing this live for you guys. So Trey is asking a perfect question. Trey is saying, how long does the Hydrofix last? This is exactly the issue. I'm glad that you're asking this question because this is an issue that the whole hydrogen industry either doesn't know or they don't want you to know. And that's because, first of all, let's go, and because this has everything to answer your question. Look at the amount of hydrogen they're claiming. 900 milliliters per minute. Guys, these numbers, in my personal opinion, are completely insane, okay? Why are they insane? Well, let's just first start with how much hydrogen is actually medically used in Japan in university hospitals. The actual amount is 130 milliliters per minute, roughly, of hydrogen gas. Then why would they sell machines with these ridiculous numbers? Because they don't understand. And everybody's trying to outdo themselves by claiming these outrageous numbers. Let's just say that this machine actually produced this amount. How long? Now this goes to Trey's question. How long do you think they could actually make these amounts? And I'm going to tell you right now, in my opinion, they can't make them very long. And why is that? Because in order to make these massive numbers, you have to up the electric output big time. And what do you think that's going to cause, guys? That's going to cause damage to the membranes, the metal, and you're using all this crazy amount of power to put out this hydrogen, and you don't even know because it's a sealed system that potentially something is falling apart on the inside of the machine, and you won't even know that these things are falling apart. And literally within 1 to 2 years, you could be making virtually almost no hydrogen. And on top of that, here's the other issue. Think about, why didn't Japan do this? Because the Japanese are not very dumb, right? They're extremely intelligent. They know more about hydrogen than anybody in the world. The reason that they don't make these machines that make these outrageous numbers like 900 milliliters per minute is because their research basically showed that if you turn up the power that much, It's actually going to create more impurities. The higher the electrical output, the more destruction to the membranes and the metals because of this high electrical output, the more impurities it makes. So they wanted to find a perfect balance between the correct amount of hydrogen, but also not create impurities. So with the Hydrofix, for example, it's a completely different animal because they actually know, there's a reason that it's #1 in Japan. It's the only fully engineered hand-built machine in Japan. And guess what? Every single machine is lab tested and certified. Do you think they do that? No. The truth is that nobody in this industry does that. Why? Because it's super tedious, it's super expensive. And I asked the Japanese, because I messaged them and asked them about why they do this. And they said because no matter how perfect their production is, hand built, lab tested, all this stuff, they found that every single machine does not meet their super high standards because not every machine will make the amount of hydrogen that it's supposed to. That's why they lab test every single one. And if it doesn't produce the correct amounts, they never get sold. But in China, they don't do that. They just slap them all together and sell them to everybody. So that's the difference between doing something right and not the wrong way. So Trey, to answer your question, the Hydrofix was tested after being used for something like 5 or 7 years. And they found that it was still producing well over 90% of the hydrogen that it did when new. I believe the numbers were somewhere in the neighborhood of like 95, 97%, 98% of all the hydrogen. After 5 or 7 years, just so you understand, that is totally insane. In my opinion, there is no machine in existence that can do that. This is the only one. And why can they do it? Because they actually use a special technology that utilizes super low amounts of electricity with super high-end membranes and metals in the computer to regulate the electrical current. So it keeps the machine healthy for years and years and years and years and years when other machines just can't do that. You really think this Chinese $700 machine is going to be able to do that when they claim 900 milliliters per minute? It's totally insane in my personal opinion. Let's see what questions you guys have. So hopefully that answered that question. Chris Martin says, has the Hydrofix helped anyone with abscess in the tooth? Actually, yes. I recently got one from a guy who had multiple abscesses. His were from chemotherapy and he could not get rid of them. And he said when he started using the Hydrofix, he could. In fact, I've been wanting to make a video about it and I haven't. So thank you for the reminder. It helps a lot with infections. As far as infections in the mouth, though, I wouldn't just use hydrogen for that. Hydrogen's amazing for the healing and reducing of possible infections. But I would also use, well, I don't give medical advice, but I mean, I like things like ozone water. I like things like MMS for infections. And maybe even potentially diluted in distilled water. Please do it correctly. Do not do it the wrong way. Food grade hydrogen peroxide. You lower it to about a 3% concentration. Look up a guy, well, you can read about it to find the proper dilution. And food grade hydrogen peroxide with distilled water, because hydrogen peroxide is an additional oxygen molecule, and oxygen is good at killing bacteria, viruses, things like that, which is why you would use it to kill things. It's very abrasive. It's very oxidizing. So it's good at killing things, but then you want the hydrogen to really heal. So that's what I would do. Let's see. The next person says, thanks for all your guidance and information, says Eleni. You're welcome. A lot of people do not want to give you the proper information, and that's what I want to do. I want everybody to get the truth, so that way it can actually help them rather than people who just want to sell products that are super cheap and mark them up to ridiculous astronomical numbers. I just think it's craziness, and I don't like it. I don't like when people get taken advantage of. Oh, well, that's just my opinion. Trey says, awesome, thank you. And then Trey says, do you have any affiliate link discounts for the Lourdes? I'm going to order one regardless. You know, I don't. You can use, I mean, you can use my code uprising144K, but I don't actually get anything. There is a good code that I saw that is, I don't know if it'll work, but you can try it, H200 with a $. And I believe that gives you a little bit bigger discount if that code is still working. So thank you for trying to give me credit. Sadly, I am unable to accept anything in the world of hydrogen. It's a long story, but because so many people go after me, apparently that is what protects me, just me not accepting anything from any company. I have had a lot of companies offer me obviously money to promote their products like these, but I won't do it. I will never promote something to you guys that is not good for you or that I don't believe in, because all my research shows that it's not the best. No matter what they offer me, they've offered me a lot of money. I've turned a lot of money down from numerous companies. And that's why I never promote hydrogen tablets or bottles or products like these, because in my personal opinion, they're just a waste of money. That's again, that's just my opinion. I'm not making any claims, guys. But let's see, any last questions, guys? Anything that you want to ask? This is why I'm here live. I really wish they would show the metal, but again, they don't want to, they're not going to show you the metal, guys. They're just not going to. And then you have to look at the required water. Distilled water only. To me, that is another red flag. Any machine that only requires distilled water is not making hydrogen correctly, in my opinion. Why? Because when it's done properly, like the Hydrofix, you can literally use any kind of water. Now, I do recommend the best, cleanest water, but that's not the point. The point is this machine can use any water safely when other machines can't. And it has to do with the design and the engineering of the machine. Trey says, can I use distilled water from water bottles from the store? Trey, I would never do that. You're going to want to buy your own carbon distiller. Yes, you can use the water from the store. However, remember this. Bottled water has the highest level of microplastics than anything you consume. Spend money on a proper carbon distiller from a website. Well, you can buy them from any website, but the ones that I use are American made, higher quality stuff. The website is mypurewater.com. Now, if you want a discount code for that, there is a code called Uprising144K, same as my channel. That one does give you a discount. And I would just get one of those because in the long term, it's going to actually save you money because you can make the water yourself. So it's going to be cheaper. And then two, you're guaranteed that you're getting clean water. Watch my video 388 on that. So I highly recommend doing the proper water. Eva says, you're such an honest man. Thank you, Craig. Well, I mean, I want people to get actual results, guys. And I don't want people just throwing their money away. It doesn't make me feel good. What feeds, I'm just going to share something personal here with you. Basically, I believe that there's things that can feed the body and there's things that can feed the soul. We already know how to feed the body. We want clean food, no pesticides, no herbicides, no chemicals, blah, blah, blah. We want good stuff for the body, no processed garbage food, blah, blah, blah. All right, we got that. But to feed your soul, guys, love one another, be good to one another. And that's something I'm trying to do with my videos here, is share with you the best information. So I'm not going to be biased. I want you guys to have the best. And that's how I feed my soul. And I appreciate all your guys' support. But all the products that I ever show you are things that I personally use, very simple protocols to get, the great results that I've been getting myself. Eleni says, are these shipped out of Japan only? Well, yeah, they're all made in Japan, but they ship them there is a company, the official company that's for international is the company, and this is actually the website right here, is holyhydrogen.com. So they will ship them through the US. So that's going to save you time, money. You don't have to worry about all the customs or any of that. They already did all that for you. So you can just go to holyhydrogen.com and they give you the international version, which is the premium edition, which you're going to want. If you're in the US or any place outside of the Japan, you're going to want the international premium model because they're designed for international usage. They're built more robust. They actually make more hydrogen too because it's their premium model. So that's what I have actually done. So any other questions about these hydrogen machines, guys? I think this is a really good time. Some people did mention some ozone smell from these. It's from under the pitcher. It doesn't hurt anything. They've been thoroughly lab tested and everything. So the Japanese discovered that basically when they're making the hydrogen underneath, you are going to have some ozone, but it never gets in the water that you're drinking. And that's the important part. And guess what? Apparently a little ozone can help clean the air, viruses in the air, different pathogens in the air. But yeah, it doesn't hurt anything, guys. You don't have to worry about that. Now Trey's asking, can I use reverse osmosis for inhalation? Yes, you can use reverse osmosis water in the machine. Again, I still highly recommend the cleanest water, which is carbon distilled, but you can use any kind of water you want. Now, a lot of times if you use reverse osmosis or other type of water, you end up having to do more maintenance to the machine. So it'll get dirtier. The dirtier the water, the dirtier the machine will get. But yes, you can use that water if that's what you have available to you. Again, these are any questions that you have right now would be the perfect timing, guys, to ask them. Otherwise, I'm going to let you go very soon. Okay, Refractor OG says, can you explain the difference between the grades of DuPont membranes? I guess Lourdes apparently used to use a high-end DuPont before they designed a custom membrane. Yes. So there are different grades of membranes. Most companies want to use the absolute cheapest, or maybe they'll use a little upgraded membrane from DuPont. The Japanese used to use, and this was a long time ago, because remember, these technologies, well, the Japanese have advanced them, but everybody else is still using old stuff. So the Japanese used to use the highest grade DuPont possible, which nobody in the industry would use from my understanding. It appeared to be that way. But the Japanese discovered that the DuPont membranes, they were good as far as the highest end one, but they just weren't to their caliber. They wanted the best, they wanted higher purity. They ended up spending a massive amount of money developing their own. They're the only company in the whole hydrogen industry that has this super high end membrane that they developed of super high purity from everything that is my understanding. And so yes, there's different grades, there are different levels, and they're not going to tell you. I mean, you can see right here, their DuPont membrane. They don't like to tell you, because see right here, it just says, it does tell you the N117 film, but these are literally just single layer membranes. The Japanese created a much better membrane. And it's funny how they always like to tell you like 99% pure hydrogen. And oxygen. The thing is, guys, is of course the hydrogen itself is pure. It's the byproducts that is the issue, and not just the byproducts, the amount of hydrogen that these things can make. I personally believe that in time it's going to be a huge problem in the hydrogen industry, where they're going to start realizing that these machines are not making the 900 milliliters that they're claiming, or even if they do make them, that they don't make them for very long. And so that, in my opinion, is going to be an issue going into the future. Okay, guys, any other questions that you might have right now would be a good time. Let's see. So that was a good question, Refractor. But the Japanese have been improving this machine throughout the years, and it's already light years ahead of anybody out there. And they're using technology which is proprietary, which nobody's ever developed, and that's another huge part of it. But as you know, the guy who created this, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the studies. I guess I could look it up here and show you guys. The guy who made the machine was not going to cut any corners because it was for his daughter. And he would not use those Chinese machines. Notwork says, if you use distilled water, is it advised to add any ionic minerals before or after? Let's see, before or after to the water. It's not, but what you can do is you can take a cup, put the minerals in a cup, and then just pour the water, the hydrogen water, right into the cup like that. But I've been doing a protocol that I created with Shilajit, and you can see that in one of my videos, and that's, in my opinion, how you get good minerals in the water that are basically coming naturally from plants and from nature, and it works perfectly with the hydrogen. And so as I was saying, guys, if you read the full story here, what gave birth to the Hydrofix, sadly, it was this little girl's suffering, and it is sad, but it gave birth to the machine, and I really hope that we can honor her life by what this guy's created, the best hydrogen machine in the world. And to me, you know, that's so important. And it's a heartbreaking story. I can't even read it because I'll start crying, but I really think the world should know about this machine because of everything that she had to go through in order for it to exist. And so, but really right now we're talking mostly about hydrogen and these different types of machines out there. And you can find a ton of them on Alibaba super cheap, like even this one for 200 bucks. People sell these for thousands of dollars, as you can see. And it's one of the, in my personal opinion, I don't want to call it a sneaky little trick, but it's what people are doing. And it doesn't feel, well, I'm not going to get my opinions on that. That's all I can say about, that's all I can say about that. That's all I got to say about that. Sound like Forrest Gump there. Okay, guys, this is your chance. Any last questions? You guys already asked some good ones. And I'm scrolling through here, and I'm going to let you guys go if you don't have any other questions. Let's see here. I'll give you guys a few more moments. But the open system is something that is always important to me, and their high-grade membranes and their low electrical output to produce the hydrogen that it produces is what really makes these stand out beyond everybody else. But also the nanobubbles. The nanobubbles that this machine can produce are unlike anything I've ever seen from any industry, and that's because of the specific type of membrane and the expanded metal technology, which doesn't allow anybody to make anything, you know, even come close to it. And this can make both the water and the hydrogen, and you just want it pure. You don't want to mix it with stuff because you're already inhaling 20 to 21% oxygen, guys. So every time you inhale from this machine, you're already inhaling the oxygen. And the problem with pairing it with oxygen is it's fine if you do it once or twice, but you don't want to do it regularly because when you take in oxygen regularly, your body's going to get accustomed to getting additional oxygen. Literally within 3 days, as little as 3 days, your body will start getting lazy and it'll start thinking, oh, look, we're getting this additional oxygen. I don't need to make as many red blood cells. It affects red blood cell production. If you really want to know, why it's not a good thing, just look at pro athletes. A lot of times they actually do the opposite. Instead of giving themselves additional oxygen, they actually limit the amount of oxygen. It's very similar to high altitude training where you're limiting the oxygen, and then periodically you might use a little bit, but not like using the hydrogen. Hydrogen, you can use it regularly, not like oxygen. So you really don't want to do that in my personal opinion, all right? But that's up to you guys. It just became such a fad and a popular thing. Eva says, what a really good source of food for anemia. Basically just Google and say foods with high iron content, and you'll see a lot of that. The key is not so much the food with high iron content, which is good, but you want to make sure to drink the hydrogen water regularly. Watch my video 337, and water that's really clean. And the Shilajit has iron. I would use that too. But then I would also watch my videos about the smoothies, because super clean hydrogen and a lot of fiber are, in my opinion, going to help you with the anemia. I would probably add chlorella to the smoothie if you're having anemia issues also. But you want to be able to absorb the nutrients properly. That's a big part of it. Susan says, awesome program today, Greg. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. I love the Lourdes hydrogen machine. Oh, I'm just glad it exists. If it didn't exist, I wouldn't have many choices as far as getting really good hydrogen. Okay, guys, any last questions? This is your time. Anything at all? I'll give you a few more seconds, and if there's no other questions, I'm gonna let you guys go. And so far, I don't see any more questions. So thank you for all the thumbs up. That always helps the channel. Comment below if you found this helpful and useful. And I'll see if I can make another video about this for you guys later. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time on the next one.